And now at 8, from immigration to crime to the economy, it's been a very busy few months for the White House.
Sure has. Now an influential, powerful conservative group has a scorecard. Only on KCAL News, we'll hear from its leader tonight.
That's right. And KCAL News anchor Rudabeh Shahbazi had a sit-down interview with CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp today. Rudabeh?
Yeah, guys, this is there's so much on the agenda, as you were talking about. So many wide-ranging topics we covered. The Conservative Political Action Committee had its first event here in Southern California. It was closed to the press, but I did speak exclusively to Matt Schlapp, the chairman, about the Republican strategy going forward, especially in light of President Trump's tariffs and concerns about the economy. He echoed President Trump's statements that there will be pain, and like him, he called it medicine. He said he essentially views the future of our economy as a battle with China and America's ability to cut dependence on it. I did ask him about recent poll numbers and public sentiment and concern about the economy here and now.
Let's talk about polling numbers. 7 in 10 say he hasn't done enough to lower prices. That's a CBS poll. ABC Washington Post poll, lowest approval rating in 80 years for the first 100 days. Fox News poll, new low of 38% approve of the economy.
And what you're really saying, I think the conclusion they're really trying to draw from these polls is that people are worried about the economy. People don't like seeing that the economy could be contracting. People don't like the idea that we have a real global struggle with China, and it has big impacts on our economy. And I also think two things. The only reason why you elect Republicans are two reasons. Number one, to secure peace around the globe by having people not screw around with us, and number two, get the economy going. So at the end of the day, if a Republican president fails on either of those two questions, they will have problems at the polls. Donald Trump understands that, which is why he's trying to take these steps early in this administration to fix these problems so that we can get this economy moving.
So coming up at KCAL News at 9, I asked Matt Schlapp about the future of Republican leadership and whether he could see and whether he could support a third term for Donald Trump, despite the fact that that's prohibited by the Constitution. We'll have his answer coming up at 9, but pretty significant that he did acknowledge the economy is hurting the Republican Party right now. He also said that poll numbers really aren't representative of President Trump, as we've seen in the past, guys.
Looking forward to hearing more, for sure.
Rudabeh, thank you.
Only on KCAL News now, the leader of a powerful conservative group getting candid about anger over tariffs.
That's right. KCAL News anchor Rudabeh Shahbazi sat down with Conservative Political Action Conference Chairman Matt Schlapp during his recent visit to Beverly Hills, and she's now here with more. Rudabeh?
Yeah, there is so much going on within the country and within the Republican Party as they chart their way forward. We have seen anger about the tariffs and the uncertainty about the economy. And now with the midterms coming up, those concerns are top of mind for Republicans. So I sat down with the chairman of CPAC, who recently held an event in Beverly Hills. I asked him about the anger directed toward Republicans right now, not just in Washington, D.C., but in town halls across the country.
People are angry, though, in these town halls. We've seen it. We saw Mike Lawler's town hall recently.
But Mike Lawler's in like the most Democratic district that a Republican has. So
there are red districts too, where people are coming out and they're voicing their concerns. Farming communities, the economy, tariffs, small businesses, farmers.
I acknowledge that having this battle over the tariffs is a tough one. And that's why previous Republicans didn't want to expose the oversized influence of China in our economy, in our society. They were willing to let that pass. So over time, China takes a larger and a larger role. I think they make unsafe and inferior products. I don't think they have any desire to have a long-term partnership with America. I think they actually want to dominate the world's economy. And look how they treat their people.
And ahead at 11 on Channel 2, I asked Matt Schlapp about whether he could see and support a third term for President Trump, despite the fact that that is prohibited by the Constitution. But really, he framed this economic battle as one between the U.S. and China moving forward.
Rudabeh, thank you so much.
An interview you'll only see on KCAL News tonight. The Conservative Political Action Committee recently held an event in Beverly Hills to talk about the strategy and future of the Republican Party. The event was closed to the press, but I sat down with its chair to talk about where he stands on the issues. President Trump has said in the past that he was, quote, not joking about running for a third term. Matt Schlapp is the chairman of CPAC, who says he is a constitutionalist, and here's what he said about that.
I want to get back to the Constitution question. Would you support Donald Trump if he were to run for a third term, despite the limits on the Constitution?
I love Donald Trump. I don't know if that's can be overstated. I've stood by him from his very first election throughout this entire process he's run for president. But we do have a Constitution. We have a constitutional amendment that was put in, ironically, by Republicans after FDR was elected 4 times to the presidency, that limits a president to 2 terms. And your question, I guess, is should we get rid of that amendment? And I'm more of a freedom guy. I'm good with people being able to vote for who they want to vote for.
So you would not support him going for a third term, despite the limit on this Constitution?
You can't until you get rid of that constitutional amendment. I am a constitutionalist at the end of the day. I should have to follow the rules, and the Democrats should have to follow the rules.
Now, amending the Constitution to abolish the 2-term limit would be almost impossible, requiring the support of either 2/3 of the House and Senate or 2/3 of state legislatures, and then ratification from 3/4 of the states.